Here, when do you think, does it feel like a new year? I mean, when do you think it's going to feel like, hey, this is not a continuation of the national championship and all of that? When do you think it's going to really feel like, hey, we're starting something new?
I feel like it felt like that in June, as soon as we move on. We have that time period off, and then as soon as the off-season training begins, that's kind of when my mindset switches. And I feel like with the incoming freshmen and with the seniors that left us, unfortunately, very sad, I miss them all so much. But it just kind of, it's a new team, it's a new team dynamic, and our culture, the core of our culture remains the same, but the team members that contribute to that culture changes every single year. And so it's like as soon as you have the coming in and the coming out, it switches, and that's when the mindset really switches as well.
Sorry, I'm fiddling with my camera. I got a tripod this time, though, Jeff.
That's good, man.
Yeah, just the first meet excitement, right? Gives that dude a ton of headaches, gives you guys a lot of excitement. I guess just the idea of like getting this thing started and showing that, kind of to your point, you're not a fluke. You guys are a good team, the best, one of the best, wherever you want to put yourselves, right? Like, how important is that for you guys to go out and kind of each week start that climb over again?
I feel like it's always been that important, no matter which year we're in. We approach every single meet the same, with the same mindset and the same goal at hand, is just to go out there and compete at our best. And we train day in and day out for that opportunity, and so now we're actually presented with the opportunity to show everyone what we've been working on.
We talked to Jay about it, about 101, but just the freshmen and just how talented they are, like right off the bat, just kind of, you can see it right away. Your thoughts on them?
Yeah, they've really been a great addition to this team, not only with their gymnastics, but also their personalities. We have a lot of big personalities on the team this year, and so it's been really fun to see them grow and to see them come into their own and start to be comfortable around us and start to be comfortable in the gym as well. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the season has in store.
So they're going to drop the banner right before.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
How do you think that's going to feel? You're going to see that, enjoy it, and then you have to flip a switch?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've been looking forward to our entire lives. It's been, the goal since you step on campus is to win a national championship, and to see it finally come into fruition and like be able to look up every single meet that I'm in the PMAC, but then also like every other game or every other event that I'm in the PMAC for the rest of my life, I get to look up and see that, and I think it's really cool, and I'm really excited to celebrate that. But I'm more just excited to get this year started, and I think it's going to be great to commemorate that and to celebrate that. But as soon as the lights turn on and Colin Baton Rouge plays, it's meet day.
How much has he beaten to your all's head that, the past is the past and it's a new team and new challenges?
I mean, definitely it's something that has been brought up, but I think it's something that we all know. We all know that the past is the past, and that what's important is the 5 minutes in front of our face, and that's something that he has said all 5 years that I've been here. And it's a really great mindset to just stay present and to stay focused on the opportunity in front of you.
What do you think this team is like? I mean, you talked about the big personalities. It seems like maybe there's a little bit of depth, and we talked to Jay, and he has different feelings about things. But it feels like you guys have a lot of pieces, right? And it's, again, it's about maximizing that.
Yeah, I mean, we have big personalities and we have big gymnastics as well. Jay always talks about having a fire starter and like the necessity for that in gymnastics and in this league and everything. But we have a whole team of fire starters, and that's just going to keep pushing routine after routine after routine, and you're going to see it really blow up.
Are you doing floor this week?
I think so.
Yeah, we haven't given them a lineup yet.
We don't know lineups till the day before,
Yeah,
but
feel pretty safe that she's in.
So Chio and Zeiss, these are the two prominent freshmen coming
yeah,
in?
they're really, really good. I'm really proud of the gymnastics that they've been doing. I think all of the freshmen are contenders within our lineups this year, and I just think that you never know what's going to happen throughout the season, and every single one is going to be presented an opportunity.
What would you say about the first time you go from, empty to 12,000 fans, and what would be, your advice to?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I had a very different freshman year with dealing with the COVID-19 protocols and everything. So my freshman year, my first time competing, we had a PMAC full of cardboard cutouts. So that was very different. My sophomore year, though, walking in to the PMAC and seeing it filled was an experience like I'll never forget, because there have been so many years where I was in the stands and I was the fans watching the girls. And so just switching that narrative to like finally being on the floor is something that is so intimidating but so exciting at the same time. And like my biggest piece of advice that I give them every single time is to just take a moment to take it all in and like enjoy it. And that's something that like I still do to this day. Every single meet, like I literally sit down before I do my floor routine and I look up into the stands and I just like appreciate everything that is around me, because there really is no fans like Tiger Nation.
It's never a good thing to compete without one of your teammates, but Haley not being there for you all this week, having it happen early in this season, is it a nice challenge to, you know, let other people step up and, you know, step into that leadership type role?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see your teammates and your best friends get injured and to see the mountain that they're going to have to deal with. But, you know, it doesn't mean that the sky is falling. This team is filled with depth and filled with talent, and it's the same mindset and it's the same approach no matter what happens. And Jay always says the best way to honor somebody is with your actions, and so that's what we're going to do this weekend for her. Thanks.
Good job, Steve.
Bye.
Nice to have seniors like that, you know, that they get the big picture, and and it's good to hear her you know, say the same things that we want them to be bought into. So you hear stuff like that, it's very encouraging as a coach. It's week one for us. I'll give you all the opening statement. Week one for us, it's an exciting time. We did get the news of, you know, Haley being out at least temporarily, and that'll be kind of week to week, and we'll see, you know, where that takes us. But again, as Sierra said, the sky's not falling, and certainly we hate it for Haley and for anybody when they're injured and when they're not able to do everything that they'd like to do. But lots of teams deal with injuries, and there's rarely been a year in sport where a team doesn't deal with some level of adversity that comes their way. And so I'd rather be dealing with it now than in April. So hopefully we can make the right calls, make the right decisions, get some people some opportunities, you know, grow in some areas, and get off to a very good start.
Yeah, how much can you share about that? Was it an injury, or where, or what happened?
I think it's out there. She tweaked her elbow last spring at regionals, and it was in 101 when she vaulted. None of us knew it. She finished 101 with it, and then woke up the next day and had some swelling in her elbow, and so a lot of this is precautionary. We did some imagery. There was some, you know, some edema in there, and we just want to make sure, because it's around the UCL, and that's not something you want to be kind of flippant with. You want to be very careful and not have something more catastrophic happen. So it appears to be, I mean, she feels great right now, and so that's a little bit of the quandary. You know, she feels great and her arm feels good functionally day to day, but I think we're gonna err on the side of caution for now, and just make sure that we don't put her back out there too soon.
It's a number of numbers, so where do you start to kind of fill those holes?
Well, you know, we do have some of those, but we'll determine a lot of that today and tomorrow. You know, we just came back. We got back in the gym on the 26th, the day after Christmas, and it was just sort of like to get loosened up. And we've had 2 days. We trained Friday and Saturday, and as you might imagine, after a break, those are not, in general, you know, sometimes a coach will get surprised, but in general, those are days where you're working through getting sore and kind of getting back into the pattern. So I think today and tomorrow will really be the kind of telltale in terms of what we do lineup-wise. But we'll be able to put a good lineup out there. I'm very confident in our group. I'm very confident in the not only the freshmen but across the board. Whoever we put out there will be in a good place to do a great job. You know, Kylie Cohen also hyperextended her knee just before Christmas, and she was probably going to be in the beam lineup and potentially on floor too, and we'll probably be without her this week too. But that should be also be these are temporary things. They're not season-ending kind of things that we're dealing with at this point.
With Connor, I know she's had some back issues during her time here. Just how's she feeling overall, and what do you see from her this year?
Yeah, I think, Connor is, given the circumstances, has been sort of like a textbook recovery so far coming out of the Achilles thing. The back, her back is manageable. There are times when it flares up. Yeah, knock on wood, thanks. There are times when her back will flare up, but we get her into a good rhythm with her treatment and those kinds of things. And so far, it's been a manageable thing. So I think she's ready to go on bars and beam. We've started adding a little bit on the leg events just to kind of reintroduce her body to some of those functions and impact and that kind of thing, but we're going to go very easy and very slow on those and not try to go too quickly getting her back on. My guess is that if I had to pick one of the two events that are remaining for her to get back, my guess is that vault would be the one that she comes back on first.
Do you like the term defending national champion?
No, I mean, I don't know whether I like. Do I like it? I think it's, on the one hand, it's a point of pride. It's something that we should be proud of, right? So I don't want to assume a position. You guys, you've heard me try to say that we need to move forward, and the team certainly understands my position on that. Yes, we're proud of the fact that we won the national championship, of course, our theme this year is protect the crown, and most people probably think that has to do with the very thing you just said, defending national champions. But really, when we talked about what our theme was, it was a lot more about protecting the things that we know work for us and protecting the culture that we've developed and valuing each other and all the things that we talk about internally. So I don't know that I dislike that term. I don't really give it much thought, if I'm being honest.
I once heard we're not defending last year's national champion. No one can take that away, and it's a new team.
Yeah, I mean, we're not defending it. We're gonna, obviously the fans will enjoy seeing that banner going to the PMAC. It's been a long time coming, and it's exciting for the whole program. It's exciting for LSU. It's exciting for everybody involved, and I don't want to diminish that, but I also want our team to understand that the business at hand really has nothing to do with that, and so. It's a fine line to walk. You don't want to – I'm not trying to deny the accomplishments of the past by any stretch of the imagination. We want to relish that, but we also want to make sure that everything we do is in the present, and that's really it. It's just a balancing act.
Every year is different. How different is this year's team considering the routines that you're returning, really?
Oh, I think it's very different, and it won't necessarily be just the gymnastics. I think anytime you remove, personalities from a team and introduce new ones, the whole dynamic changes, and it's not just because the new personalities came in. It's because the people that remain begin to assume roles that maybe they didn't play fully before. When you had a Kaya Johnson and a Savannah Shanehair and a Lena Arenas and on, and Kai Rivers, a huge part of what we did day in and day out. You're filling voids, and it's about who is able to best fill those voids. And sometimes it's not the newcomer. Sometimes it's someone expanding their role and becoming a bigger voice. And so everything can shift, and it's a little bit. So I think it's a very different thing. The good thing is that the things I hear coming out of their mouths when they talk to me about sort of the internal things is that they're very together, and they went through some growing pains with that in the fall, but they seem to be very on board with each other and doing this for the right reasons right now, and that should pay dividends for us. Like I say, this is week one, and we're going to find out what the personality of our team is as we go, and that's the exciting part of it, and that's what the season is for, and we'll just kind of see where that takes us.
Who are you considering for any all-arounders this week?
Well, I think that the obvious one, Leah Finnegan, is ready on all four. And this, last year we didn't have her on bars for a wrist thing that we were nursing and trying not to, again, being cautious at that time with her. And this year she'll be able to open on all four events. The likelihood is that Kaylin Chio will be in the all-around as well. And I don't know, Lexi Zeiss is ready on all four. Amari Drayton is ready on all four. So there's possibilities that still exist there for people to do the all-around. It's, everybody, I don't talk about the all-around very much because I don't even think in those terms really. But in terms of four eventers that potentially could do all four on a given night, those would be the ones. No. In some ways, I wish I can think of one year in my career where we had 8 gymnasts participating and all 8 of them did 3 events, and it was wonderful. Because mentally it's such a big thing. Their whole life they get entrenched in this all-around mindset, and when you remove that one event, it can be freeing a little bit, in terms of just your mental approach. And so no, it's not really an advantage one way or the other.
From what we've gathered, you seem pretty confident in your 2 freshmen. Just what do you like about them? What are kind of their strengths? And obviously, I guess, what will they be doing this week?
Well, I'm confident in all the freshmen, not just those 2. I wish Zoe Miller was healthy. We had to get her shoulder repaired when she got here, but I think long term you'll see that she's incredibly gifted too. Kalia Lincoln will likely do one event, do vault for us, but she's not completely healthy, and we're having to be very careful with her. Incredibly, maybe the most explosive athlete I've ever coached in terms of just sheer power and dynamic gymnastics. But I think the 2 that are probably getting the most press clippings right now, I think Victoria Roberts has come a long way, with a vault that I think you'll get to see at some point this year too. But the 2 that are going to get the most attention are Lexi and Chio, just because they're physically in the best place right now. And so they're both incredibly gifted gymnasts, both really hard workers, perfectionists in a lot of ways. They always want to do a little more, and that's usually a good sign when you have freshmen that you're having to pull back on. They're going to achieve and do really well. I think they've handled the adjustment of training X number of hours and moving into a different training situation with different hours and different living environment, different coaches, all those things. They've handled it very, very well, and I anticipate them being very successful throughout the year. I'm not putting any kind of crazy expectation on them in their first meet, because it's a different animal. When you walk into this arena and you're competing for truly for a team, it can feel different, and so you got to give them a little grace. And so, this again is our first meet, and I tell the team we're not trying to win a championship in January, and so let's keep it in perspective. We want to open strong and we want to start fast, but we're not going to allow a certain result to dictate or define them or anything long term.
What's your experience with first meets? The scoring is typically lower. Kind of takes judges a while to warm up.
Well, it's funny. I maybe sometimes that's been the case. I think this year there's a greater unknown with regard to scoring. There's some indication that scores might be tighter across the board this year. We have instituted a pilot program that that has a panel of evaluators to evaluate meets via video submission, and in some ways I think it's a little problematic, just because I don't know about injecting more subjectivity with people that weren't in venue. I don't know. I think our judges do a good job in general. You guys know there's always times when you disagree with judges. That's true in every sport. Officiating is a hard job, and whether it's umpires calling balls and strikes or whether it's you name it, I think they have a tough job, and so I'm not sure. I think our officials have done a really good job of ranking routines, and that the right teams win. I don't know that there's been a year that anybody would go, did the wrong team win the national title? But nonetheless, we're doing this thing that is to sort of review or evaluate the accuracy, and so I don't really know what to expect in terms of scoring. I've told the team to be prepared for anything and not not get defined by that. Because what could happen, and I don't know that this will happen, you'll have you might have some level of apprehension to give a high score if you think you're going to be evaluated, or you might there might be some judge that gets reviewed a certain way if they gave a high score one week and then they feel like they've got to correct that. And so I'm not sure what I expect out of scoring this year, and I think it just has to be, I think part of the excitement of our sport and sort of part of the reason we've seen so much great interest and intrigue in our sport increase over the last, 8 to 10 years is it's understandable and more understandable than, say, the scoring that you see at the Olympic Games, where people don't understand what a 15 or a 13 or those things are. They understand what a perfect 10 is, right? And so it's like a home run. Not all home runs are the same either, and not all perfect 10s are the same. And so there is always going to be a level of subjectivity in our sport, for sure. But I also think that part of the excitement is the possibility of being able to see those high scores. And I worry that if we've injected some doubt in judges' minds about whether they ought to be judging a certain way, or whether they're going to be kind of judging looking over their shoulders a little bit, and that concerns me, because I think our officials, they have a hard job, and in general they do a very good job. And that doesn't mean I've always agreed with every score I've ever gotten, but that's part of sport, and that's what makes it sport. And so I wish I could answer your question more clearly than that. I don't know what to expect. I think what we'll have to do is understand that if we see a sort of a shift or anything seismic in terms of scoring, is just make sure that we explain it to our fan bases that there's an increased level of scrutiny being placed on the officials this year at some level, and I hope for the best in that, because I think right now we're at an all-time high in terms of popularity and excitement for our sport, and at a time when things in collegiate athletics are uncertain, I would hate for us to do anything that potentially damages our ability to be understandable and popular to our fans.
Coach, what's your thoughts on the impending house settlement and all that sort of jazz, I guess?
Yeah, the house settlement is supposed to go final in the spring, and obviously, the fallout of that is increased scholarship numbers and roster limits and all the things that go along with it. From an NIL piece too, it's gonna, for us, we will see increase in scholarship numbers, and we will be working to address that. And I think the portal may become more active in the portal this year, for those reasons, to try and fill some roster spots that we have available starting next year. The NIL piece, I hope, gets more predictable as we go. Not sure what it means for collectives and things of that nature. Remains kind of to be seen what that is really going to finally land on and look like. On the one hand, it's exciting that we're going to have increased scholarship opportunities in our sport, and I think that that's a good thing across the board. I think it just provides more opportunities. The last time we had a scholarship increase in our sport was 1995, and in that year we went from 10 to 12. And in that period of time, the talent pool that we recruit from has increased about fourfold. So there are opportunities there to fill scholarships. I am concerned about every program not being able to do those things and what that means on campus, which is why I come from a standpoint of marketability and footprint on everybody's campus should be our number one priority as a sport. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about your footprint and your value to your community and on your campus, which includes goodwill and just popularity and relevance to what we're doing. So that's the thrust of my concern, is to make sure that as many gymnastics programs around the country as possible can be as viable and as vibrant as they can possibly be in their own community, on their own campuses, and adding value to themselves and again, it's not about money. There's not a gymnastics program in the country that's profitable, just in terms of bottom line. We sell the place out, but we have 5 or 6 opportunities to do so every year. There's a limit to how much you can generate. So I'm not talking about monetary value. I'm talking about value and additive. There's plenty of ways to add value. If you took everything that our program generated last year in terms of national mentions on broadcast or print or whatever, the ESPYs, on and on and on, you're talking, if you were to try to buy that kind of advertising, that's millions of dollars, that adds value to your brand and to your campus. And so that is true within your own city and your own community. And here in Baton Rouge, that we have value because of the popularity locally. That's what I hope that our programs around the country can latch hold of and begin to grow more and more, because I think that's going to be key to our sustainability in a new environment when this, the House settlement is like this big atomic bomb that we don't really know what the complete ripple effects of all that are going to be just yet. And as an Olympic sport, it concerns me that we need to focus on our viability and thrivability, not about survival. I'm not taking a doomsday look at it. I just want us to continue to ride this wave and be able to survive this. I think, in the SEC, we're positioned to do that. And I'm excited about some of the opportunities to do that with the increased scholarship numbers. But also, we lose our last group of these 5th-year seniors from COVID this year. So our roster size, as it sits right now, is much smaller next year. So it's gonna open up opportunities for us to be more active in the portal than we've ever been in the past.
Towards the end of the last year, Ashley Cowan came on really well on bars. Mm-hmm. Just what are you seeing from her this year, and is there any opportunity for her to do anything other than bars?
Yeah, I think certainly Ashley Cowan has shown just an incredible level of maturity in the way that she's a leader within our team. She's not just a one-event wonder that is kind of non-existent outside of that. She's a vocal leader. She's heavily involved in SAC with Sierra, and she's ready to go on vault if we need her. She's ready to go on balance beam if we need her. We did pull her off floor just because her body was taking a little bit of a beating there, and it wasn't any kind of acute injury that we were worried about. Just sore and hurting. It just seemed like it was wearing on her more than it really was worth. So, but yeah, there's a chance that she gets out there. She's in the conversation on vault and on beam, and just has turned into such a consistent competitor for us on bars, and is a real joy to coach. I've, as a freshman, I was pretty hard on her, and she'll cite that for you if you ask her about it. But I think she's just such a great and tough competitor, and has a great mindset and a tremendous presence for our team of stability.